live on other platforms?
We're gonna go live.
Perfect. Perfect. Hey, welcome everybody to another REV Real Estate Live webinar. Appreciate you guys all being here. People still popping in. We'll admit them as they come. I'm Jim Hodges. I'm Director of Operations for REV Equity Group. I want to excuse Dallin. I don't know if all of you guys know, he had a brand new baby girl join his family a few days ago. And so he's got some family obligations this week to tying him up. So I'm going to host this week's webinar. Super excited to have everyone here. Super excited for our guest speaker, who I'll introduce in a moment. Just to kind of give you guys an idea, if this is your first time on the call, we hold these weekly webinars to provide education for those interested in investing in real estate. We find that the best investor is an educated investor, and our main driver here at REV is to provide opportunities for people to learn and to grow. So we try to provide valuable content. We bring on guest speakers who are experts in their space. And this week we have Nate here, who from Directed IRA, and he will be speaking about how to invest with a self-directed IRA, and all of the possibilities there and opportunities to use that avenue to get into this type of investment. So we mostly focus on multifamily real estate, and some of this can also be used for other investment vehicles as well. But our primary focus is multifamily real estate. We want to be able to, provide good content so that you as the investor can make smart decisions. We also, our big reason or our big why here at REV is to, introduce people to this wonderful vehicle. So not only can they grow and protect their wealth, but they can take that value to other people. We're all about service. We want to be able to give back to the communities that we get involved in. We also want to be able to help anywhere and everywhere we can. And investing in multifamily real estate is an awesome vehicle for those that want to be able to give back to do just that. So again, thank you all for being here. I want to turn the time over to Nate. Nate, if you will just, kind of introduce yourself, give us a little bit of your background, how you got started in this, and then jump right into, what we can do with a self-directed IRA.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and thanks everybody for spending some time with us on a Thursday to talk about not only real estate, but retirement. It's a topic that I've come to love over the years, and you kind of asked, how did I get into this field? Completely by accident. I didn't go to college to learn about retirement accounts. I had some finance classes, for my major and things like that. But the funny thing is that I found self-direction after I was, after I had done the whole real estate career. Right out of college, I actually was always interested in real estate. Got into the mortgage business in 2004, bought my first house in 2004, right out of college, owned 17 properties soon after that, went through the crash, learned, all those hard lessons through 2007, 2008, still invest in real estate today, primarily as a private lender. But in 2012 is when I first learned about self-direction. And when I first learned about self-direction and self-directed IRAs and the ability to use retirement accounts that are massively beneficial for tax savings, but use it to invest in real estate, all type of real estate, use it to invest in other alternative assets instead of stocks, it was a life-changing event for me at that time because I wish I would have known all that 10 years prior, because I would have been investing my retirement accounts into the things that I understood, which was real estate, note investing, and all those investments, instead of investing in the stock market, which is what I just thought was my only option in a retirement account. So in 2012, when I first learned about self-direction, I became passionate about it because I felt everybody should understand that this is an option for them when it comes to a retirement account, that you have more options outside of Wall Street. And in 2014, I got my certified IRA services professional designation, which is just a nerdy term that means I've studied a lot about IRAs and retirement accounts in general. But what I really enjoy doing now is teaching people how to use self-directed retirement accounts, all different types of self-directed retirement accounts, to invest in real estate, notes, mineral rights, oil and gas, or whatever it is that you want to invest in as an investor, but doing it in a completely tax-free manner. So I'm just going to jump right into it. And if you guys have questions, feel free to type them into the chat box or wherever you guys are looking. I probably won't be able to read them as I'm going, but we can, try to address any questions at the end. And if we don't get to everything, I'll give you guys my contact information. You guys can reach out to me directly, but I'll just jump into it. So we're going to try to keep it short and brief, and we're just going to touch on kind of the surface level of self-direction by talking about, well, first, what is an IRA, what's a 401k, and what can it own? What are the rules when it comes to buying and selling investments in a retirement account? I'll talk about the benefits of owning real estate in a retirement account. There's a lot of misconceptions about whether or not you should own real estate in a retirement account at all. So we'll address some of those misconceptions and talk about some of the benefits. I'll identify the 7 plans that you can use. Most people don't realize there's more than one plan you can use when it comes to self-direction. And not all of them are retirement accounts. Some of them are things like health savings accounts and education savings accounts you can set up for your kids and grandkids, all of which have different tax benefits to them, all of which can be self-directed, but we'll kind of identify the types of plans that you can use to keep Uncle Sam off your back. We'll talk about just some quick rules, what not to do in an IRA. And then at the end, if we've got some time, I've got one case study that just kind of, it's useful to kind of see how the process works. So I've got an actual client case study of how they bought, a 4-unit property in their IRA, and we'll actually kind of analyze that deal for learning lesson there. So let's just jump right into it. I won't spend too much time on this. I already kind of told you my background. My name's Nate Hare. I'm a certified IRA services professional. I act as the executive director at Directed IRA. We're a local, homegrown, self-directed IRA custodian here in Phoenix, Arizona, but we've got clients all across the country. We've got about 12,000 clients currently, and currently manage about $1.3 billion in assets. And those assets are all alternative assets that we have under management. So I'll talk about what alternative assets are, obviously one of them being real estate and apartments, but we'll kind of identify what those alternative investments are. I always have to have this disclaimer before I get started. Even though I'm an investor, on the side, I like to do a lot of investing. I like to talk about investment strategy. As an executive at a self-directed IRA company, I'm not allowed to give you guys tax, legal, or investment advice. So that's just my disclaimer that everything here is for education purposes only. I'm always encourage you guys, check with your financial consultants, your attorneys, your attorneys or any professionals before entering into any type of investment. We're just providing education, and I'm giving you guys some good food for thought so that you guys can become better self-directed investors, hopefully, in the future. So why do we talk about retirement accounts? Just a quick history lesson on retirement accounts, or even present day lesson on retirement accounts. It's important to talk about retirement accounts for many reasons, but the main reason is it's the largest source of American wealth. More people have money in retirement accounts than they do their bank accounts. And they don't think about it very often. I think, for myself, and I'm sure a lot of people got the same education I did through school or through their parents, is how you retire is you work for a company, you set up a 401k, you put 10% of your earnings in the 401k, and then voila, you're like that couple on the commercial, driving a sailboat with the beaches behind you, and that's how you retire. Well, I think most people realize that retirement doesn't happen that easily. It doesn't happen for a lot of people unless you're trying to save your way to retirement and make very, very conservative returns. You got to make a lot of money to save your way to retirement. I was kind of the mindset is I want to invest my way to retirement. I want to invest in things that I understand. I want to put small amounts of money in a retirement account and have it grow through the growth of the investment, not the the sweat of the back of me working more to put more money in a retirement account. But it is the largest source of Americans' wealth, and there's well over $30 trillion in retirement accounts in total. IRAs now are the largest source of American retirements, no longer 401ks. That's important to know because most people have, left jobs or transitioned, careers in the last decade, and their old 401ks, their employer 401ks, have now been rolled into IRAs. So IRAs make up about 14 trillion of that $30 trillion in American retirement wealth. So it's important to identify where the money is, and especially for yourself, what is your retirement invested in, because it's probably your biggest bucket of money that you're working with. Little history lesson on alternatives, or present day history on alternatives. Alternative assets are the largest growing asset class in retirement accounts. This is big news for us, probably not something the average American follows, but we sure follow it. But alternative assets, things like real estate, all types of real estate, apartments is one of them, fee simple real estate, land, commercial property, anything that's an investment not tied to Wall Street is typically considered an alternative asset. Alternative assets have been breaking records over the last few years. And there's a couple different reasons why more people are investing in alternatives than they did in the past. Probably the biggest reason is technology. Technology has played a huge part in getting people more information more quickly. And with the things opening up like crowdfunding and, like REV Equity, being able to go out there and talk more about their alternative investment options, we didn't have that, prior to, a decade ago. With the rise of the internet, now people can find these types of things. Alternative assets a couple decades ago was really only for the rich and the wealthy, the people that were in the know. They knew who to contact to invest in alternatives, but now it's becoming more of a publicly known asset class. It's expected to grow up to 60–70% over the next decade. So it's growing, but it's continued to grow even more. I think based on what's going on right now, it's going to grow even more than what the projections say. Because people nowadays, I think, are they're in tune to where their dollars are at, and they're paying more attention to what they're invested in. Right? I'm not getting political in any way, but you guys know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of things that are coming out, seems like on a weekly basis, that are making people think, what's my money doing right now? Where before, people just inherently trusted their advisors and trusted the banks that had their money, and there was just no questions asked. Nowadays, people are asking, what's my money invested in? Where's my retirement? And should I be looking for something else, something maybe I understand more, or something that just maybe I feel a little bit safer investing in? So that's why you're seeing alternatives grow on almost a yearly basis. Alternatives are not new. It's not a new investment. Self-directed IRAs are not a new tool either. IRAs, all IRAs were created in 1974. People started using them in 1975. And the investment options in an IRA have never changed. It's always been the same. And here's basically the rule of thumb. An IRA can own anything outside of two assets: life insurance contracts and collectibles. Those are the only two things an IRA can't own. So if you have an IRA at Fidelity, Fidelity could hold real estate for you if they wanted to. They just don't want to because they don't make money holding real estate. They make money through brokerage fees and selling investments and selling publicly traded investments. So some people think, well, I can't buy real estate in an IRA because Fidelity doesn't allow me to. True, Fidelity doesn't, but that doesn't mean the IRS doesn't allow you to. If you want to invest in alternatives or things outside of Wall Street, you just have to find a company like us, Directed IRA, that doesn't sell investments. We just administrate and hold investments that you find, that you tell us you want to invest in. And I'll show you kind of how that process works, but most of our clients have a self-directed IRA with us that holds real estate or some sort of alternative asset, and they still keep some of their money at Fidelity invested in stocks, and that's actually a great way to diversify. This was an article in Forbes in 2020 that I think really kind of tells the tale when it comes to self-direction and alternative assets. Alternative assets are not widely known, so obviously not a lot of people hold alternatives in their retirement account. about 98% of all the retirement wealth is invested in traditional assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs. The other 2%, it's growing a little bit, is in alternatives. But this article from Forbes, and the title is what got me, got alternative assets in your IRA? Watch out. You would think that that would be a scary thing about IRAs. Well, when you actually read the article, this is why they're saying watch out. It's because when the IRS was doing their audits, they identified that of the IRAs valued above $5 million, so we're talking about the wealthy, the large IRAs valued above $5 million, 25% of the assets were unconventional, or in other words, AKA alternative assets. So what's that tell you? 2% of IRAs are invested in alternatives, but the big IRAs have 25% of their asset in alternatives. This is not new to the wealthy. The wealthy have been investing in alternatives for decades, and now it's becoming known to us. So I just thought that that was interesting, and you got to be careful of headlines. So everybody knows that. Careful of headlines. Read the article and actually understand it. But this was actually some good news for us because it shows alternatives can work if you're finding good alternative investments to hold in your IRA or retirement accounts. Now, here are some examples of alternatives. Now, alternatives can go outside of this list. This is just our most common list of asset classes that we hold and administrate for our clients in their IRAs. Rentals and flips, secured and unsecured notes. That's actually what I like to do. We'll talk a little bit about that. It's very similar to investing in the things that REV Equity provides. I'll kind of talk about that as we go. Private equity, private stock, oil and gas. That's some of the most common investments. But like I said, the IRS doesn't tell us what we can invest in. They only tell us what we can't invest in. And the only things you can't invest in are life insurance contracts and collectibles. So as a general rule of thumb, if you can buy something, if you can draw up a purchase contract for it, if you can hold title to it, that can be owned in the name of your retirement account. And therefore, you can get your tax benefits that the retirement inherently has. Okay? Remember, you can't do this at Fidelity. If you go to Fidelity and say, hey, I want to buy real estate in my IRA, or I want to invest with REV Equity with my IRA, first, some of them will tell you, well, you don't have to move your money. We have a self-directed IRA here. Self-directed is just a marketing term, okay? Their self-directed IRA can be self-directed into all the nice mutual funds that they have. So they're not going to let you invest truly in alternative assets and have direct ownership in alternative assets, where we do as directed IRA. So this brings us to a little bit of definition. Let's just define some terms so people understand when I talk self-directed IRA, what am I talking about? What's the difference between an IRA, a self-directed IRA, and sometimes you'll hear us say real estate IRA. The real meaning is there is no difference between any of those. IRA is an individual retirement arrangement. It's the same no matter where you go. Whatever word's in front of IRA is just a marketing term. Okay, so we use self-directed IRA to identify our IRAs. Sometimes people will call it a real estate IRA because they want to hold real estate in it. But those IRAs are no different by law legally than an IRA at Fidelity. Okay, the only thing that's different is what the custodian will allow you to hold. Okay, so just don't get confused. IRAs are IRAs are IRAs, and you can have as many IRAs as you want. The only limit that you have is how much you can contribute to the IRA on an annual basis for all your IRAs. But you can have, I have one client that has 75 IRAs. You don't need 75 IRAs, but he likes to keep all of his assets in different IRAs to keep them separated from each other, keep some of them away from audit. I won't get too in the weeds on it, but you can have as many IRAs as you want, holding all different types of investments. It's a good way to diversify. And like I said earlier, most of our clients have IRAs at Fidelity that hold their stock, and they have IRAs with us that hold their alternative assets. Skip that. So what are the benefits of having real estate in an IRA? Okay, and when we're talking about real estate, we're not talking about a REIT. A lot of people say, if they've never experienced this, they say, oh, yeah, you can invest in real estate with our Fidelity IRA. We've got all these wonderful REITs that you can invest in. Well, publicly traded REITs aren't really direct ownership of anything. It's like owning a stock in a company that's just acquiring property. Okay? True ownership of real estate is either through syndication, private syndication, or direct ownership. Okay? However you decide to do it is fine with us. Okay? But what are some of the benefits of owning real estate in an IRA? One of the things that I like to talk about is, A, it's tangible. Okay, I've owned rental property in my IRA for years. Okay, the thing I like about owning real estate is it's tangible. Okay, it can never be valueless, meaning that even if my property that's owned in my retirement account, if it burns to the ground, A, if I didn't get insurance, which would be stupid of me, but I have land. Okay, land has value. In some cases, it's over 50% of the value, depending on what you own. Insurance will cover your losses on real estate that burns to the ground, because why? It's an investment that is tangible. You can drive by it, you can touch it, you can feel it. That's very different than a stock. A stock's not tangible. If you invest in a company and that company goes bankrupt, you have nothing left and you have no recourse. I'm not calling stocks bad. I'm just saying there's an inherently different look at and feel of a stock versus a piece of real estate. You don't have to be a real estate investor either to invest in real estate with an IRA. A lot of our clients just like it because of the diversification it gives them. You saw early on the numbers, the wealthy like to have diversification too by owning at least 25% of their wealth in alternative assets. There was actually another number, I don't have that slide here, but there was somebody else that posted, and I saw there was an article that showed out of the billionaires, the people that had owned $5 billion of wealth, 50% of their wealth was invested in alternatives. So again, I mean, there's a lot of importance to alternatives, whether you are a real estate investor or not. I think owning some tangible assets like real estate gives you better diversification than if you just own 3 different mutual funds in different risk classes. One of the biggest benefits that all IRAs give us is tax savings. Okay? IRAs, 401ks, and other qualified plans allow you to buy and sell real estate and buy and sell stock without paying capital gains tax. That's a big deal, especially with the way that they talk. They're always threatening to raise taxes on us on any given year. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense to own real estate personally. I think there are some benefits to owning real estate personally, especially if you need the depreciation to offset some of your own personal income taxes. But if you really want to get rid of taxes altogether, well, make sure that you're using your IRAs and 401ks. IRAs and 401ks, by definition, are tax-exempt trusts. It's a tax-exempt vehicle that when I buy and sell things, I don't have to pay taxes. The only time that I might have to pay taxes is when I take money out of the plan as a distribution, because I'm a taxpayer. And that only happens when I take money out of my traditional IRAs or my traditional 401k or my SEP IRA. If I have a Roth IRA, well, Roth IRAs are really cool because Roth IRAs, I pay the taxes at the very beginning. And when I take distributions out of a Roth IRA, I'm not taxed ever. So I think it's actually a great strategy to accumulate real estate assets, preferably some real estate assets that are cash flowing. And imagine owning them in a Roth IRA where once you have what's called qualified distributions out of a Roth IRA, meaning you've had a Roth for 5 years and you're above the age of 59 and a half, well, every asset you own in your Roth IRA, you can start taking distributions off the earnings tax-free and penalty-free for the rest of your life. Quick example, I have a client, he owns 12 rental properties in a Roth IRA, okay? He's in his 70s now. Every time a renter pays rent to his Roth IRA-owned property, he takes the rent out to himself, tax-free and penalty-free, every single month, every single year. Those properties also appreciate over time. So even though he's taking money out to himself, he's living comfortably off the rents that are coming back to him tax-free and penalty-free because it's owned in a Roth, his value of his retirement is increasing because the appreciation of those properties is going up in value. Most people have just a bunch of stocks that just decrease as you take money out. So again, just food for thought. Tax savings is huge, especially depending on the type of IRA that you're using to own alternative assets like real estate. And here's one that not a lot of IRA companies are going to spend time on, but I think it's important, especially with some of the stuff that REV Equity Group does. Real estate, to me, it's a socially conscious investment, meaning I have invested in syndications. Here's the difference between me investing my IRA in a syndication and me buying, Walmart stock or just some stock of a company that I don't know. Well, first, I don't really have any relationship with a company that I'm buying stock off Wall Street with. I don't really know if, in most cases, people don't know if they're in line with their political or ethical intentions. But if I'm in control of my investments with a self-directed IRA and I'm investing in a syndication or making a loan to a local real estate investor, I know my money is doing more than just getting me a return, because I know what those real estate syndicators and those real estate investors are doing with my money. First, they're going to secure it or give me some sort of security for the investment, so I know that I have something to fall back on. But they're also putting people to work, right? They're getting contractors and subcontractors that are working on the property, all with the help of my money. They're putting local money back into local businesses by buying paint and lumber and all those things. Again, there's a lot of things that are happening with my money when I'm investing in something that means more to me. Plus, I can invest right in my own community. So I live in Phoenix. Wouldn't it make sense for me to take my retirement and invest right into the heart of Phoenix by investing in syndications or people that are taking ugly houses and making them pretty? Because inherently what I'm doing is my retirement's making me a return, but it's also making my community a better place to live and play. So most people don't even think about retirement that way. But when I started investing and started getting my return back from the people I was investing with and seeing what they were doing with my money, it sparked something in me. I thought, why everybody should invest like this? So I'll get off my soapbox there for a minute. But again, ask yourself a question. Where's my retirement? What's it invested in? And is it a socially conscious investment? Is it doing something positive to my community? Or can I be doing something else? But really, what you really want to think about is invest in something you're comfortable with. Invest in something you understand. I think most people inherently understand how real estate works, so they have a better understanding of real estate than they do the stock market. But again, using self-directed IRAs, you can invest in all sorts of things. Here's the type of plans that you can use to self-direct. There's actually 7 that we have here at Directed IRA. I wish I could spend more time on these because there's some cool lessons amongst each of these plans, but we can save that for another day, or you guys can go to our website and learn more about them. But there's 3 categories of plans. I'll keep it real brief. You've got personal plans, which include your traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. Now, those can be self-directed. Again, so you can have a self-directed traditional, you can have a self-directed Roth here at NewView. The only difference is how those are taxed. Traditional IRAs are taxed on the way out, meaning you put money in, you get a tax deduction, you pay the tax when you take the money back out. Roth IRAs work the opposite. You put money in, you don't get a tax deduction, so it's an after-tax contribution. But the trade-off is, since you already paid your tax before it went in, all the profit grows completely tax-free and penalty-free, provided you keep it in there 5 years and you're above the age of 59.5. Personally, I think if you're taking a small bucket of money and you're going to make it larger, what size bucket do you want to pay taxes on? Do you want to pay it on the big bucket or do you want to pay it on the small bucket? I like paying it on the small bucket. So that's why I like the Roth IRA, but I've seen people that prefer the traditional IRA because maybe they're making more contributions to the plan than their expected returns. That would be kind of your identifying criteria. Am I putting more money in there, or is my returns what's making my IRA larger? That kind of is the deciding factor on whether you should have a traditional or a Roth. And you can even have both. If you're self-employed, you have additional options. You can self-direct a SEP IRA, a simple IRA. We even have a really cool solo 401k. If you're self-employed, don't have time to spend on that, but you can make larger contributions on these plans. So it's more of a tax shelter from Uncle Sam. If you want to start, using those, consult with us, call us if you want to talk about those plans and how they work. And then here's plans that nobody talks about that are really cool. I've got both of these. I've actually got an HSA, which is a health savings account, self-directed health savings account, and I have 2 education savings accounts for my nieces. I don't have kids of my own, but these are accounts that you can set up that you can self-direct, but the tax benefits, the growth within these accounts, you don't have to wait till retirement to use them. You can take out tax-free and penalty-free distributions out of a health savings account to pay for your family health expenses, and you can take distributions out of a Coverdell education savings account to pay for education expenses for kids or grandkids. So these are self-directed accounts that you can use to help pay for current needs, not retirement needs. One of the first investments I ever did was a note to a real estate investor, and I partnered my Roth IRA, my HSA, and my 2 nieces' Coverdells on one promissory note. Okay, 4 different lenders, one promissory note, But when the borrower paid back my accounts, paid back Directed IRA, that interest check that I got every single month was split amongst my Roth IRA pro rata, my HSA pro rata, and my two nieces' ESAs pro rata. The Roth IRA profit I leave in there until I'm into retirement. My HSA profit I can use tax-free if I want to pay for health expenses, prescriptions, doctor's visits, acupuncture, and then the education savings account profit can be used to give to my brother to pay for tuition, books, computers, all with tax-free dollars. So again, it's not just the Roth IRA that can be self-directed. There's other plans here that are really cool. I wish I could spend more time on that, but the benefit to all these is you can partner these plans together, kind of like how this suggests here. This is how I do most of my investing, is partnered with my other accounts, because A, I want to get all the accounts invested, especially today, because cash is not king today. Cash is losing its value. So if you've got your money sitting in cash, well, you're getting broke safely, I would say, because the dollar is losing its value, the cost of living is going up. So you want to make sure, especially, it's just a critical time. I'm not getting on a political rant or anything like that. I'm just trying to make sure that people understand, if you've got a lot of cash sitting, you're probably not doing yourself a service there. You probably want to find yourself some investments for that cash, whether it's personal cash or cash in any of these accounts, and get them invested into something that at least keeps you slightly ahead of inflation. Okay, look for some stable returns. Hopefully you're above inflation, but if you're just keeping it on the sidelines, I think you're probably just losing money. You're just not seeing it. Some quick rules. Make sure am I good on time so far? You guys let me know if I'm running over time, and I hope this is helpful to you guys so far.
Nate, I just want to make
quick
sure.
rule.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in. Just
We're
make
good?
sure leave some time for Q&A at the end, because we do have some questions that are piling up.
Okay, no problem. I'm almost done here. Just want to make sure that people just understand one quick rule. You, as the fiduciary of your plans, okay, you're basically the owner, you're the manager of the plan, but the money in the plan is not yours until you take distributions. So the main thing with that is the IRS does not want us to use our IRAs to invest back to ourselves, okay? You can only take money out of your IRA as a distribution. You can't take it out by saying, hey, self-directed custodian, I want my IRA to make a loan to me. Okay? That's actually, you're working against your fiduciary responsibility to your IRA, which is to help it grow for your retirement. So that's why it's important that you have access to deals, not your own deals, but people who have deals. Okay? Any loan that I do out of my IRA is not going to be back to me. It's going to be to a non-disqualified third person. Okay? I'm a disqualified person to my IRA. That means I cannot transact with my own IRA. Okay? I can't buy anything from my IRA. I can't sell anything to my IRA. I can't trade assets with me in my IRA. That's not how IRAs work. IRAs, 401ks, HSAs are investment vehicles. You have to find investments, and you have to find investments with non-disqualified third parties. Okay? Non-disqualified third parties include anybody outside of these people: the IRA owner, the IRA owner's spouse, their children, their grandchildren, and basically any lineal relative. So it goes up the line and down the line. It does not include family to the side. I don't want to get all into the weeds on that, but just make sure you understand that your IRA has to be invested into deals of people outside of this list. Okay, and again, that's why it's good to know people like REV Equity. As long as you're not related to them in this capacity, they're a good access. They're good access for you guys if you want to look at deals. Okay. Let's see. All right, so just a quick case study, just so you guys kind of understand. I'll race through this so I can get to questions, but if you guys want to contact me and go over this stuff in more detail, we can do that. Just so you guys kind of understand the concept. This was a client of ours. She identified a 4-unit property in her neighborhood that she wanted to use to own in her or buy with her retirement account. Now, how's that process work? The first step is she opens a self-directed IRA at Directed Trust Company, okay? Fills out an application online. We get it open the next day. Really easy there. The next step is transferring money from where it currently is to fund the Directed IRA. If it's already in an IRA at Fidelity or Charles Schwab, it's easy to get that money over. All we do is fill out a transfer form. We send that transfer form via fax to Fidelity. Fidelity wires the money, however much money you want to send over, they'll send that to the Directed IRA account. Okay? Once the account's open and funded, you have to work with our transaction team to take title to the property or buy the property in the name of your IRA. So we're not finding the deal for you. You still have to find the deal. But when we work through the transactions team here at Directed IRA, they're going to make sure everything is vested in the name of your IRA. So you're not making offers to purchase it in your name. You're making it in the name of the IRA. At Directed IRA, the buyer on this property was Directed Trust Company, FBO, Denise Roberts IRA. Okay, it's as simple as that. Denise negotiates the terms with the seller. Okay, Denise just tells us, here's what I want to buy. She fills out a form, gives us a copy of the contract. We sign the contract as the buyer, and then we send the money to either the title company or attorney's office. We don't hand Denise the money. Okay, handing Denise the money would be a distribution. All we're doing in this scenario is based on her instruction, we're exchanging her asset of cash to an asset of real estate, just like Fidelity exchanged assets of cash to an asset of a stock. Okay. Now, obviously, we have to work through the process of buying real estate, which is a little bit cumbersome, but that doesn't mean the self-directed IRA is more difficult. It just means buying real estate is a little bit more, has more nuts and bolts to it. Okay. She bought this for $375,000 in her IRA. We sent earnest money out of her IRA of $5,000 directly to the title company. Again, she works with us to handle the documents, and I know I'm racing through this. The warranty deed on this property showed Directed Trust Company, FBO, Denise Roberts IRA. That's the legal owner. If you're investing in a syndication, okay, your ownership is going to be shown probably on a PPM or an operating agreement. It's no different. The thing that's different about this deal than investing in a syndication is this deal takes a little bit more work. Doesn't mean it's bad, okay? But investing in a syndication, who's doing all this work? Well, REV Equity is doing all the work for you. The reason I like to do promissory notes and invest in syndications is it's passive for me. I'm not doing any of the work. I'm just agreeing to the terms of the deal, okay? So you could do it either way, but this is just to kind of conceptually give you an idea of how money flows in and out of the IRA when you buy an alternative investment, okay? Any income that comes in from the investment goes right to the IRA, okay? The income is not sent to you. The income sent to the IRA, and depending on the type of IRA you have, it could be tax-deferred income or it can be tax-free income. It could be income to use in retirement. It could be income to use for health expenses, depending on the type of account that you have, okay? Once we get to the end of the road and you want to sell the investment, you fill out a form telling us you want it sold. We sell it, and then all the return, again, goes back to your IRA. Here's the cool thing. There's no capital gains tax when you buy and sell real estate in an IRA. Okay? The only tax, remember, that you might have to pay is when you start taking distributions to yourself, and that's only if you've got a traditional IRA. So all the profits that she received from this deal are all tax deferred. If she had used a Roth, they'd be tax free, but she used a traditional here in this case. So how do you grow money faster? It's by using vehicles like this, where you're not taxed on an annual basis, and she can reinvest all of the money into the next deal and accelerate her growth by getting Uncle Sam out of the equation on an annual basis. So again, hope this helps for you guys. Can you use a small IRA to buy real estate? Yes. An IRA can use leverage. You can leverage other people's money. You can leverage time, because most people have time to do this when it's a retirement account. Here's the thing that REV Equity comes into play. You can leverage other people's experience, right? If you're experienced, great, but you can leverage the experience of others. And if somebody's out there doing deals and they're out there, producing all these great investments, then you don't have to do the work. And with a self-directed IRA, and I would say any retirement account, you want to do as little work as possible. You want to sit back and enjoy retirement. Right? That's why I like investing in notes and syndications. But using a self-directed IRA, I think you can identify uses of leverage more than just, again, buying a stock. Okay? I'm not going to go through this because I want to get to questions, and just basically thank REV Equity for having us. I know this was kind of quick. I want to touch on at least some important topics for you guys, and make sure that you know that you can take control of your retirement through a self-directed IRA and invest in what you know best. So, guys, that's all I got. Are there some questions that you saw that you wanted me to take?
Yeah. So, Nate, first I want to say thank you so much. It is a lot of valuable information in here. And as you guys can see, there's a lot to this. So Nate's got his contact info on there. Reach out if you're interested after this webinar is over, because there's a lot of things to consider when going and utilizing a self-directed IRA. So Nate, I'm just going to go down the list here in order for questions. So First one came from Bruce. How are cost seg savings and bonus depreciation handled in an IRA?
Great question. So in the first part was expenses. Did I catch that? Read the
Yeah, well,
part again. Sorry.
Cost seg, so cost segregation savings. So if you're doing
Okay.
a cost seg and bonus depreciation, right? How are those handled?
Okay.
Through the IRA?
So, yep. So with cost savings and depreciation, here's the thing with those that's a little bit different in an IRA. And this is actually where you hear one of the misconceptions that I get. There's a lot of times it's from CPA. No offense to any CPAs on here, but it's some people that are kind of in the box, and I hear it a lot of the time. They go, "I would never buy real estate in an IRA because I don't get depreciation." Well, what do you use depreciation for? Well, depreciation is to offset tax. What tax are you offsetting in an IRA? There is no tax. So in most cases, if your IRA is buying something all cash and it's not a taxpayer, it can't use depreciation because there's no tax to depreciate against. So there is a benefit to owning some real estate personally if I need to offset some of my income tax, but an IRA doesn't pay income tax. There are some circumstances, though, where an IRA can become a taxpayer. Okay, I didn't get time to go into this, but this actually is relevant to maybe some of the deals that REV Equity might be putting together. And I don't want to jump to conclusions, but here's when you can use depreciation in an IRA is when an IRA does become a taxpayer. Here's one situation when an IRA becomes a taxpayer. Let's say my IRA has $50,000 and it wants to buy a $100,000 house. One other way of leverage is my IRA can borrow money. Or my IRA can invest into a syndication or invest with a deal sponsor, and that deal sponsor might be getting a loan to help buy property. Well, in that scenario, now my IRA didn't make 100% of the investment cash. It made 50% of the investment cash. So the IRS says, okay, cool, we'll let you keep 50% of the earnings completely tax-free, since that's what the IRA put up, but the other 50%, the non-IRA money, you have to pay taxes on that portion. Okay? That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. That just means you use some debt to help you buy an asset bigger than what you had in your IRA. So that 50% that's taxable to an IRA, and it's called what it's called is unrelated business income tax. Okay, I don't want to bore people too much, but that taxable portion of it, guess what kicks in now? Now you can use depreciation on that portion of it. So it doesn't mean that an IRA can't use depreciation, but in most cases, it's a moot point because an IRA is not a taxpayer to begin with. So there's nothing to depreciate against in most cases.
Awesome. Thank you. Bruce, hope that answered your question. Again, it's a lot to it, right? Next question's from Bryson. Does the self-directed Roth have the same income limitations as a traditional Roth?
Great question as well. So the income limits he's referring to, I believe, are when you make contributions to an account. So when we talk about the personal plans, the traditional and the Roth, when you can make a contribution to a Roth, there's an income limit that actually phases you out from being able to make contributions. Okay? It's roughly about $200,000. We'll just give it a rough number. So if I make as income more than $200,000, I cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. Okay, this has been the way Roths were set up for decades because really, I would probably say they're scared of what people would do with a Roth IRA, especially high income earners that know what to do with their money. So they used to prevent people from having Roth IRAs by saying, if you make too much money, you can't have one. Well, in 2010, an income limit was removed, not the income limit for making contributions to a Roth, but the income limit to do conversions to a Roth. A conversion is where you take money out of a traditional IRA, pay taxes on it to move it to a Roth IRA. There used to be an income limit on that too. So you couldn't even convert traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs. Now you can. So there's no income limit to ever make a contribution to a traditional. That doesn't exist. You can make $2 million a year and still make a $6,000 contribution to a traditional. And now, since there's no income limit to convert traditional to Roth, here's a term that you might be familiar with. It's called a backdoor Roth IRA. Okay, we have a lot of clients that do this that make high six-figure incomes. They love the Roth IRA, but they can't make a contribution directly to a Roth IRA. So how the rules allow you to do it, they make a contribution every year to a traditional IRA and then just have us convert it over to the Roth. Backdoor Roth IRA, you can do it every single year. The IRS knows it's happening. They're fine with it. But that's how you get money in a Roth IRA if you're above the income limit, even though the income limit still applies for direct contributions.
Great. Wow. It's amazing. Next question from John. Can employers invite their employees or invest their employees' retirement fund in illiquid alternative investments such as real estate?
You can, yeah. I mean, we have. I would say I've worked at companies before where, for instance, we had a 401k at a previous company that I worked with, and the 401k was invested in all alternatives, and all of the employees were invested in it. So, indirectly through the 401k, I actually owned some partnerships in Louisiana. I had some syndication deals in Texas. We had we owned some land in Hawaii with a waterfall. We used to always make jokes that, based on the IRA rules, we weren't allowed to swim in the lake and the waterfall that we owned in the 401k, which is just kind of a funny thing. But to your question, yes, there are some, ins and outs. Talk to a tax advisor on what type of setup you have for your employees. There are some sticky rules with setting them up, but as far as having the options of investing their accounts into alternatives, yes, you can do it, but you're going to have to structure it in a certain way.
Awesome. I think we answered this question. So John asked if we could transfer a regular IRA or also your Roth IRA. I kind of want to expand on that. So I'm just making an assumption here because I don't really know. There's tax implications when moving from a regular IRA to a Roth. So if I take from an employer's plan and move it over to an IRA and then roll it to a Roth, somewhere along the lines, I'm going to pay taxes on that, or at least penalties on that, correct?
Never penalties, only
Okay.
tax. So if I've got, let's say I've got $100,000, well, let's say I've got $500,000 in a traditional, okay? And I want to, start looking at converting some of that money to Roth. Here's the analysis you want to make. Well, what's it going to cost you, right? Any conversion, any converted amount, you're just going to treat that like additional income that year. So some people say, well, I'll do conversions in low income years. Well, that's fine. You can do that. I'll stay away from conversions in high income years. That's fine too. If you're a business owner, here's something you want to think about. If I'm running my business and I'm showing a loss that year, do a conversion. It's free. If you're adding income to negative income, well, you might not even have to pay on the conversion. So check with a CPA based on your income level. What's it going to cost you? Is it going to cost you nothing, or is it going to cost you a lot based on where your marginal tax bracket is? Here's the thing that I think you want to look at, though, is that's more important than even the cost. What's the investment going to be? I would never advise someone, even though I don't advise, I would never advise somebody that to convert a $100,000 traditional IRA to a Roth IRA if their investment was a low-paying CD. Now, CDs have gotten better recently, but you guys remember 2 years ago, CD rates were like 0.3%. It was ridiculous. So would I want to pay, let's say, 30% in taxes on $100,000 to have tax-free growth of 0.3%? No, mathematically, it makes no sense. But if my investment is, let's say it's a flip or a syndication deal where I'm going to make 30%, I'm just throwing out a number because these numbers are not coming out of thin air. They're coming from actual deals that I've seen investors make. And I actually have a case study on how an investor did a conversion before they did a flip because they knew what they were going to make on the flip. They had a pretty good idea because they had done flips in that neighborhood personally, so they had a good idea of what they could sell the property for. Well, if you have a good idea what you're going to make on it, and it's going to far exceed the taxes that you're going to pay to convert, then convert. It doesn't matter what it costs you. So she ended up paying about 28% on her conversion back then to get, I think it was $150,000 converted from a traditional Roth. But the reason she did it and she ponied up and paid the taxes is because she made 78% return on the flip. Well, that's a win-win right there because now all of that money in that Roth IRA, it's all the taxes have been paid. So every time she makes a new investment with return, it's ching, 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 ching. So you want to look at the investment. Is the investment return worth converting for? And then what's your recovery period? How long is it going to take me to recover the taxes that I paid? But remember, if you just leave it alone and you just invest in a traditional, the IRS loves that because they love big traditional IRAs. Because guess what happens to a big traditional IRA in retirement? The IRS gets a percentage of every distribution you take till the day you die. So that's why I like the Roth. Again, it's not for everybody, but if you're running your numbers right and your investment profit outweighs the taxes that you would pay by converting, convert.
And I love the fact you mentioned this earlier, if you're in the Roth IRA, and you're gaining those, the gains that you're making go right back into that Roth IRA tax free. And as long as you're not pulling it out, right, then you're reinvesting those gains without paying taxes. So you're exponentially growing that, those dollars. That's amazing. Just got
and I'll tell you, the IRS does not like big Roth IRAs. So that should tell you something. That should tell you something right there, because they audit big Roth IRAs just to make sure that they're not owed anything. So for me, I guess I'm always been the guy that travels the path least traveled, or how that works. But when I hear something like that, the IRS doesn't like it, that must mean it's good for me. So, you know what I mean? So that's the way I look at it. If they're auditing Roth IRAs, it must mean that because you can do something with this. I'll add one quick fun fact on that, though, too, is one of the best things you can give your kids or grandkids is an inherited Roth IRA. Because inherited Roth IRAs, when you die, inherited Roth IRAs continue to grow for your beneficiaries as long as they don't distribute it. If you've got income producing assets owned in your IRA, you pass it along to them in an inherited Roth IRA, it grows for another 10 years tax-free and penalty-free. So you're talking about tax-free wealth for 2 lifetimes, not just one.
super awesome. All right, so we have one more question in the chat, and it comes from Robert, and this is based on the case study you shared with us. So is management and repair costs, can you pull those from the IRA, or are those out-of-pocket costs?
So you should always pay for any expense that's related to the asset out of the IRA. So great question. There's a couple different ways that you can do it. If you just own a real simple asset, like just a one property, one renter, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, very common. You can just tell the renter to pay rent right back to your IRA. They make a check payable to your name, or directed IRA, your name and IRA, and then we put that into your account as profit. And then anytime you would need to pay like a landscaper or get a new roof, we don't hand you the money because that's a distribution. You just send us an invoice of who we need to pay, and then we just pay it right out of the IRA as an expense. As soon as you get into investments that are a little bit more complicated, you're probably going to want to have somebody in between us and the asset. So for instance, on the 4-unit deal, she had a property manager that actually took place of collecting the rents and paying the expenses. And she paid the small 10% fee or whatever she had to pay. And then whatever the property manager had left over, sent back to us on a quarterly basis. So again, as long as you're not handling the money and you're not paying out of your own pocket, then you're flying, within the rules. Just make sure that you don't pay for anything out of your pocket, or if you do, don't tell your friendly IRA custodian and don't tell the IRS. Okay, if you pay for a couple light bulbs, just don't tell anybody. Don't write it off on your taxes. I probably shouldn't say that, but I know real life happens, and sometimes you're just like, I don't want to deal with directed IRA to get this. But don't pay for the new bedroom addition with your own money. That you're definitely playing with fire there. Work with the IRA custodian, tell them what you need to pay, and make sure that it gets paid out of the IRA at some point, either directly to who you need to pay, or we can give it to a property manager or a contractor or somebody like that.
Awesome. So one more question came in. Can you kind of give us a high level of what directed IRA's fees look like?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you just asked. Let me make sure I can do this. I was actually just working up a comparison. Don't mind me pulling it up. I literally was just doing that this morning. Can I get it here? Pull it up. It's easier to see versus. So this is just a high-level comparison. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. So this is just a high-level comparison of our fees compared to some of the competitors. We have an account establishment fee of $50. Normally, if you work through somebody like myself or one of our biz dev people, we'll waive that. So don't get caught up on the $50 application fee. We have transaction fees. Now, transaction fees are not moving money in. That's not a transaction. A transaction to us is buying an investment, right? Buying a piece of real estate, investing in a syndication, investing in a promissory note. That's a transaction to us. From beginning to end through the purchase of that asset, it's just $50. Okay. When we sell it, it's $50 when we sell it. And then the only fee that you pay on an annual basis or a recurring basis is just the administration fee. And it's very important. Our administration fee is per account, not per investment. So it's just a $295 flat fee per account. You can own 100 pieces of real estate in one account, and it's $295 a year. Most every other IRA custodian charges per asset. Okay, so if you're buying 10 rental properties in one of the competitors' IRA and it's per asset, well, you're paying $3,500 in administration fees with them on an annual basis. You're paying us $295. Okay, so and we don't try to be the low-cost leader. That's definitely not our target market. That's not where we try to go. But I would say that we've got the most value. We've got great reviews. If you go to Google and read our reviews, we're basically 4.9. I think we have 1 out of 500 reviews. We have 1 non-5-star review. So we're very established in the industry. We know what we're doing, and our fees are very reasonable, I would say. And these fees, by the way, the administration fees of the IRA, you can pay that with your own money because that's administration of the IRA. It has nothing to do with the asset owned by the IRA, if that makes sense. So if I'm repairing the roof, that has to come out of my IRA. If it's just my fees to Directed IRA for having an account, I can pay that out of pocket. So I usually tell people, don't have us take those fees from the account. Pay those with a credit card, right? Get some points on your credit card. If you're a business owner, write it off on your taxes as a business expense. But those fees right there that you're seeing can be paid outside of the IRA.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Nate, hey, thank you so much. This has been just overwhelming with the amount of information that you've shared. Thank you. I know you were just touching the surface of all that a self-directed IRA can do. So folks, I encourage you, if you guys have any interest in this, reach out to Nate. The self-directed IRA guys I've worked with in the past, they're awesome to work with. They're quick to respond and they answer all your questions. And again, Nate, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful webinar. Guys, we did record this. This will come out on Tuesday. It will get uploaded to our YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we encourage you to do so. The more that we get, more subscribers we get, the more people we can get in front of, the more people we can impact with this valuable content and education. Because something Nate said earlier on, right? Awareness of money is growing, and we want to help grow that as well. We know the education system in America doesn't teach about money. They don't let us know what we're supposed to be doing. Our parents really didn't know. My parents didn't know, I'll say, how to do money and how to utilize all these different tools that we have available to us. Power of the internet, power of sharing content like this. So please encourage your friends to come. We just want people to be able to protect their wealth, grow their wealth, and be able to utilize that to serve others. That's what we're all about here at REV Equity. Nate, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And everyone, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, REV Equity, for having me. I put my email in there in the chat if you guys need to get a hold of me. But thank you, guys. Have a good Thursday.
Awesome.